Hello, Didi. Welcome. Hello, Gregory. Welcome. All right, we'll get started. Share screen. Running a few minutes late tonight. Not too late. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Vedananupassana katang cha bhikkhave bhikkhu vedanasu vedananupassi viharati yada bhikkhave bhikkhu sukhang vedanang vedyamano sukhang vedanang vedyami tipajanati dukkang vedanang vedyamano dukkang vedanang vedyami tipajanati adukkang sukhang vedanang vedyamano adukkang sukhang vedanang vedyami tipajanati samisang va sukhang vedanang vedyamano samisang sukhang vedanang vedyami tipajanati niramisang va sukhang vedanang vedyamano niramisang sukhang vedanang vedyami tipajanati samisang va dukkang vedanang vedyamano samisang dukkang vedanang vedyami tipajanati niramisang va dukkang vedanang vedyamano niramisang dukkang vedanang vedyami tipajanati samisang va dukkang sukhang vedanang vedyamano samisang dukkang sukhang vedanang vedyami tipajanati niramisang va dukkang sukhang vedanang vedyamano niramisang dukkang sukhang vedanang vedyami tipajanati idyajatang va vedanasu vedananupassi viharati bahidda va vedanasu vedananupassi viharati ajatta bahidda va vedanasu vedananupassi viharati samudaya dhammanupassi va vedanasu viharati vaya dhammanupassi va vedanasu viharati samudaya vaya dhammanupassi va vedanasu viharati atti vedanati va Pannassa sati pachupatitta hoti yavadeva e ajnana mattaya patissati mattaya anissato cha viharati nachakinchi loke upadhyati evang piko bhikkave bhikkhu vedanasu vedananupassi viharati. All right, English. And how bhikkhus disappear dwell contemplating feelings and feelings. Here, when feeling a pleasant feeling, a bhikkhu understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. When feeling a painful feeling, he understands, I feel a painful feeling. When feeling a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. When feeling a carnal pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a carnal pleasant feeling. When feeling a non-carnal pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a non-carnal pleasant feeling. When feeling a carnal painful feeling, he understands, I feel a carnal painful feeling. When feeling a non-carnal painful feeling, he understands, I feel a non-carnal painful feeling. When feeling a carnal neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a carnal neither painful nor pleasant feeling. When feeling a non-carnal neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands, I feel a non-carnal neither painful nor pleasant feeling. In this way, he dwells contemplating feelings and feelings internally, or he dwells contemplating feelings and feelings externally, or he dwells contemplating feelings and feelings both internally and externally, or he dwells contemplating in feelings their nature of arising, or he dwells contemplating in feelings their nature of vanishing, or he dwells contemplating in feelings their nature of both arising and vanishing. Or else mindfulness that there is feeling is simply established in him to the extent necessary for bare knowledge and mindfulness, and he dwells independent, not clinging to anything in the world. That is how a bhikkhu dwells contemplating feeling and feeling. All right. Hello, Michelle. All right, let's meditate. So there's a few of us. You all know how my meditations go. So get started with the setting up the body in a comfortable and stable position, and then transfer over to your breathing. Then I'll chime in a little bit later for the guided meditation. For the rest of the meditation, we will follow the Buddha's instructions and contemplate that which he instructed us to contemplate regularly, whether we were a woman or a man, lay or ordained. We'll do the 5 subjects for frequent recollection. So the first one, repeat the words after me in your mind. After we do the repeating, then I'll offer some commentary to help you reflect and contemplate. Repeat the words. I am subject to aging and decay. I have not gone beyond aging and decay. Because we are born into this body, it is natural that the body gets older, starts to decay and fall apart. No matter what we try to do, eventually the body starts to go through this process. Not only you, but all living beings in the samsaric state. Whatever being they may be, the process might look different because there's different beings with different kinds of forms, different lifespans. But all subject to old age. Even one faculty life like plants, even suns, even stars get older. Their qualities change over time as the sun gets older. Let alone a small being on this small planet full of living creatures, beings. Now the second contemplation, repeat the words. I am subject to illness and disease. I've not gone beyond illness and disease. Because we have this body, it is of the nature of the body to get sick, break down from time to time. Sometimes the sickness is temporary, it heals. Sometimes it's chronic and it stays for the rest of this life. But even that is also temporary. It's not permanent. There's no surprise that a being should not be subject to illness and disease. Even in the forest, you can see trees and various creatures with various ailments. All living beings are subject to this. Repeat the words. I am subject to death. I've not gone beyond death. Because we are born, we have this body. Inevitably, it will grow old, get sick, and come to the end of its lifespan, to death. The body will break up and the mind will go according to its karma. This is the nature of being born. All beings, all living beings in samsara, but even inanimate things like suns and stars and moons and planets eventually come to destruction. Repeat the words. I will be separated from everything and everyone that I hold dear. Because the nature of existence is sabbe sankhara anicca, all conditioned things are impermanent, unstable, and undependable. Because of the conditions of old age, sickness, and death, it is inevitable that one day you will be separated from people, places, and experiences that you love. And even more minor things like economics and various ways that children, family members, etc. move to other states to work, to start families. There are many ways in which separation may occur. Contemplate that one day you will be separated and lose that contact. And the last one, repeat the words. I am the heir of my karma. My karma is my relative, my refuge. Whatever actions I do for good or evil, to that I shall fall, I shall be the heir in this lifetime or future lifetimes. This is perhaps the most important of the 5 subjects for contemplation, because it is a reminder of your agency, that you and you alone are responsible for your actions. Karma isn't fooled by justifications, thinking that because of so and so I did this. You are always the owner of your actions. You should remember this. In a world where all beings are subject to old age, sickness, and death, and separation, loss, this is the nature of things. No matter who you are. This is why the Buddha includes this in the introduction. Women or men, layperson or ordained. This is attributable, this is applicable to all beings who are in the samsaric state everywhere. Slowly start to open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you, your body's position in it. Reflecting on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and contemplating any experiences that stood out. All right, friends. Welcome to Monday night Dhammapalooza, the festival of Dhamma with the Magsaysaka community, where we do a variety of Dhamma-related activities. We did some chanting, we did some meditation. Now perhaps we'll have a sutta reading or a Dhamma talk or questions and answers. We'll see how it goes. So if you do have any questions, you're welcome to type them in the chat at any time. I think maybe I'll give a Dhamma talk. If you have a suggestion for a Dhamma talk topic, you can put that in the chat. I haven't quite decided what I wanted to talk about. How is karma a refuge? That's a good question. Very good question. So, the Buddha tells us that there is no true refuge, there's no true safety or security in the samsaric state. That's straight out. There's really, even with the like, as I always say, the irony of going for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha is the fact that you're going for refuge that there's no refuge. At least not in samsara. The only true refuge is becoming awakened. It's the only true safety in the storm. However, your karma can be a refuge because if you do lots of good karma, that means that your chances of having good rebirths is increased. If you're doing lots and lots of good karma from life to life, kind of building up your pool, then that's kind of a refuge. That's a kind of a temporary shelter, right? You can hang out in the heaven realms for a bit, not have to deal with the major sufferings of samsara, but that's only temporary. That goes back. But if you are also developing the Noble Eightfold Path, if you're practicing well, your karma is also leading onwards to the ending of karma. Right? That's also a refuge. That's the ultimate refuge. Your karma is leading onwards from life to life. As you practice more and more, you're building up that refuge. It can also be a refuge in terms of your mind. I'm thinking in terms of relating to like sila nusati, mind, contemplation of your good deeds. Right? You can reflect, I did lots of good deeds. I didn't create a lot of bad karma. That will be for my benefit for the future. Right? And that can help you feel better, more calm, more peaceful, etc. So I think these are the ways where karma can be a refuge. Right? Karma is also your relative. That means it's nearly as close to you as you are to yourself, right? It is you yourself, really. It's even closer, I should say, but it's like a relative, like it's there. Right? It's very close. It's like you have a relative that you are bonded with, you're connected with. Hello, Sergey. Stream entry? What was that in specifically in response to? Let's see, what's the next sutta? Anguttara Nikaya. The longer discourse on the heartwood, that was the next one. There it is. We definitely won't read that. Oh, stream entry in general. Okay, sure. So stream entry is the Buddha. The Buddha has the famous saying of how very few people cross the stream, right, to go to the other side. Most people just run up and down the banks on this side. But of the people who are running up and down the banks on this side, there's some who are practicing, and eventually they get to a point where they take their Dhamma raft and they put it in the stream. And they start paddling over. That's the stream enter. Right? This is somebody who has attained the first level of awakening, if you want to put it that way. This is somebody who has attained a state where they are locked into awakening. It cannot be reversed. No matter how lazy a stream enter they are, within 7 lifetimes they're awakened. And this is what Bhante Gunaratana would call a money back guarantee. Right? This is one of the best things that anybody can strive for. I mean, personally, I'd like to be awakened in this life, but if I can at least become a stream enter in this life, I'd be content. I'll be happy. Because that means at least within 7 lifetimes, I'm done. Maybe even less. Right, the Buddha picks up a handful of leaves in the forest, and he says, monks, okay, which is greater, the handful of leaves in my hand or the handful of the leaves of the great forest? And they say, obviously, the great forest, there's much more leaves. And so the Buddha says that the amount of suffering that the Sotipanna has given up is like the leaves of the forest. The amount they have left is like the leaves in my hand. So the Sotipanna is kind of simultaneously misunderstood, like in thinking that it can be kind of easy to become a Sotipanna, but also misunderstood in the opposite way, and that some people attribute qualities and ethics of a Sotipanna like they're an Arahant, which they're not. Sotipannas can still do bad deeds. They just can't do the worst of bad deeds. And when they do a bad deed, they acknowledge it. They don't hide it. Right? These are beings who are still very human, although they've begun a path. They've gotten in the stream that will take them across. And at that point, they will go beyond. They will become perfected. Whatever qualities you would say that this person is a human, those are gone. Just like that being who met Buddha on the road and asked him about that. Are you a god? Are you a human? Are you this? Are you that? And the Buddha said, no, I'm not this, not that, or that. And the person was very confused. And so the Buddha said, any qualities that you would say are qualities of a human, I do not have those. Of a deva, I do not have those, etc. Right? Because he's gone beyond. He has no craving, no ignorance, no delusion, etc. So a stream enter is a being who has entered the path. They've knocked out 3 of the 10 chains, the fetters that keep us bonded to this world. And they are locked in for awakening within 7 lifetimes. It's a good deal. Everybody should practice for stream entry. Omad asks, can you comment on anything we know about the previous world Buddha, Kassapa? By reputation, he lived 21,000 years. I don't know where lived. You mean he lived 21,000 years ago, or he lived for 21,000 years? I don't know where that comes from. Maybe commentaries. I'm not really familiar with these numbers. How much can we really say we know about him and other legendary great Buddhas? We can't say we know much. The only way we even know anything about them is because the Buddha talked about them. That's it. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to that. What was your name? It's off the tip of my tongue, but because of the way YouTube does this thing, all I see is ACC 7518Q, like you're like an Android or something. I know who this is, but because you always come with questions, but the name I'm not remembering. Does a Sammasambuddha need to experience full sensual indulgence and also full asceticism in order to discover the middle path on their own? Or can a Sammasambuddha get enlightened without those? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know that, like, that kind of process was never described with the other Buddhas. We know that different Buddhas were enlightened under different trees. So, in that regard, we know those similarities. But in terms of the specifics of kind of experiencing both extremes, we don't really know. I mean, I think there are some qualities and some experiences that a Sammasambuddha would need to experience to have that kind of impetus, that push to move towards the spiritual path, for sure. There's a wide variety of abilities of what that could be and how that can turn out. How to develop the 3 conditions of stream entry. Develop the Noble Eightfold Path. That's how you do it. There's no fancy trick. It is literally developing the Noble Eightfold Path. If you develop the Noble Eightfold Path, then you will be developing wisdom into identity view, which you eventually will let go. You will be developing wisdom into Silabbata Paramasa, which you will be letting go, and you will develop Vicikiccha. No, what did I do? Identity view, doubt. No, I didn't do doubt. All right, and your doubt will also will disappear. So identity view, doubt, and wrong view of rituals. Right? The path will lead to the degradation of these things and the replacing of them with wise action. Accident seller, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. I knew. Is it? Yeah. Like I said, I knew who you were, but because YouTube, I only see the whatever you actually the name of your actual channel is instead of your name. So accident seller. That's right. Yes, all over the suttas. All over the suttas, the Buddha expected lay people to be as learned and well practiced as monastics. When the Buddha describes his fourfold assembly, he uses the same words, that they're well practiced, that they know the teachings, they're very learned. Men and women, layperson ordained, the fourfold assembly are all to be wise, learned practitioners who are developing the path. There's nothing in the suttas that say lay people shouldn't meditate or only should do this or that. That kind of view is a later invention. That's not the view of the suttas. Now, excuse me. It is acknowledged that not everybody is up to it. Everybody's at different levels. So there will be people who all they can really do in this life is practice lots of dana. And that's fine. That's part of the path. They've started the path. They've started developing it. Maybe in a next life or in a life in the future, they add sila. And then down the road, they add bhavana. And so they're doing the full Noble Eightfold Path. But there's nothing that says that lay people can't. It's just a recognition of the level that they're at. There are in the suttas, we have at least one example of lay people, a lay person teaching monastics, householder chitta. You have the example of Anathapindika, who on his deathbed hears a very deep teaching and asks Ananda why, or was it Sariputta? I think it was Sariputta, why he had never heard. He had been with the Buddha for decades, heard so many teachings, but had never heard this teaching. And Sariputta said, well, we don't teach this to lay people. And he said, well, there are some who would understand. There are some with little dust in their eyes. Please, for their sake, teach this. Right? So there's many places in the suttas where it's very well understood that the Buddha was for people practicing to whatever level they're at, and whether they're a monastic or a lay person. And if you're, practicing the Full Noble Eightfold Path, where you got meditation and all these things, mindfulness, then if you're a lay person, that's fine. That's what you do. You practice that. If you're a monastic, you practice that. Lay people don't get an easy pass away. The Buddha expects lay people to be just as learned and practiced. We'll see, Dee. Maybe I can do a few. My energy is starting to crash. So I don't think I'm making it the last half hour, but maybe we can read a few before we go. Are the results less bad if they're mitigating circumstances? No, not really. All right, this is the problem. So, right, here's the question. Are the karmic consequences of wrong action mitigated by being under the influence of wrong view or coercion? That is, are the results less bad if there are mitigating circumstances? I mean, it's nuanced. It can get complicated. Like, for instance, right? This is like what comes to my head is like in the suttas, or not in the suttas, in the monastic vinaya, under the Parajika 1, right? Where if you have any kind of sexual intercourse, you're done as a monk. I say bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, the same. And there's things in there where by sword point, by bandits, like bhikkhus and bhikkhunis are forced to have sex and things like that. And they're asked afterwards by the Buddha, did you at any time consent to this happening? And if the answer is yes, you're Parajika. Right? You were forced to do it. You weren't like waking up that day to, oh, I'm going to be put in this wild situation. But there you are. And so if you do not consent to it, even though you do the act, then you're not Parajika. But if you consent to it, then you are. Right? So this is kind of like the nuance, right? You're being forced to do something, but there's still the agency, the mental agency that makes the difference. So ideally, you don't want to be completely at the whims of the external world enforcing your action. This is why it's quite clearly showed in the suttas that in many cases, it's better that you just die than do an action, because it will be worse karmically in future lives. So choosing to die is a choice. Okay, well, I'd rather just, instead of committing this act that's going to cause lots of, suffering for myself and harm to others, I'll just die. It's okay. It's better that than I do this act. Right? So I think that's what I can respond to. The accident in the cellar. I know it's accident cellar. The accident in the cellar is saying people on Reddit worrying about lay people reading the suttas. Well, that's their view. You don't have to listen to them. Right? They're not the Buddhist Pope. There is none. So don't bother. Let them have their view. Yes, I know the monk who's behind Reading Faithfully personally. He likes to be anonymous, so I never say who it is. But I know who it is, and I have contact with him. Reading Faithfully is a great website. For example, stealing to feed your family, it's still stealing. Killing as a soldier in war is still killing. Right? It's still killing. You're intentionally killing. Right? And these are things you want to avoid. This is why, what do I say? You've heard me say this before. Samsara is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. It's not fair, it's not nice, it's suffering. So because you are born, because you have the karma of starting a family, then you have responsibility for them, and you will be put in situations where there's no good choice. It's just a choice among bad choices. Right? And I've had many people say, okay, well, I'll take the karma of doing that. Right? If it's for my family, if it's for this or for that, I'll take the karma of it. They feel that's strong. That's okay. At least they know they're taking on the karma of it, though. Okay? That's at least the good thing. Yeah, Michelle, you never heard of the Buddhist Pope? Where would the Buddhist Pope live? He couldn't live in India because remember, Christianity started in the Middle East, but the Pope was born in Italy, so the papacy, I should say. Who knows where the Buddhist Pope would reside? No such thing. The suttas are way too interesting to not read them. Yeah, I agree. But everybody's got to start somewhere. And they were quite a hard thing to get your head around in the beginning. It's a steep learning curve to get into the suttas. There's no doubt. That's why you do need, to listen to monks and, people who you trust to talk about it, because there's a lot to understand context-wise. You were drawn to the suttas of not soullessness initially. Yeah, it's an intriguing thing. Kind of scary and complicated for most people. It's something to get also very lost in intellectually. You have to be careful of that. You'll never intellectually understand anatta. You have to experientially understand it. All right, friends, I think I'm good. We have gone. Yeah, we're only ending it maybe 15 minutes or so early, so that's pretty good. I think I'm going to call it though. So, Sukhihotu, may you be happy and at ease, practice well and be well, and may you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which if I'm alive should be, who knows? maybe next Monday for another morning monastery experience. Oh, all right, that's good. But isn't the teaching of non-self also reassuring, as it means your problematic mind is not yours? Ah, but seller, you only have half the story. You also you have to understand how, through dependent origination, the problematic mind was created by you. You're not off the hook for responsibility. You built that mind. Didn't just come out of nowhere. Things just don't magically appear. Once you start to realize that, then you start to really understand what the job is, what you need to do. So, understanding anatta experientially is good, but you got to understand dependent origination after that, because they are one and the same. They are connected. So, okay, friends, have a good night.